The ship arrived at Station Meridian 7 on a cold morning in the space calendar. Park pressed her face against the window and watched the massive structure grow larger. It was her first time leaving Earth. It was her first time seeing so many stars without the blue sky blocking them. She was 22 years old. She had black hair that she kept tied back in a simple ponytail. She was not tall. She was not heavy with muscles. She looked like any ordinary young woman from Korea, but she had passed every test the galactic military had given her. She had earned her place at the academy. The shuttle docked with a soft bump, picked up her small bag and walked toward the exit. Around her, other species pushed and moved. Some were twice her height. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales or fur or shells made of something that looked like glass. They all looked at her with curiosity. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Most aliens had never seen one in person. A large creature with blue skin and 3 eyes bumped into her shoulder. It did not say sorry. It just kept walking, said nothing. She simply adjusted her bag and continued forward. The academy building was enormous. It stretched across an entire section of the station. Thousands of cadets from 17 different species trained here every year. They learned combat. They learned tactics. They learned how to fight in wars that spanned across star systems. Found her room. It was small but clean. She had no roommate. Humans were given private quarters because most aliens found their body temperature uncomfortable. Humans ran hot compared to other species. She unpacked her few belongings and looked at a small photograph she had brought from home. It showed her grandmother standing in front of their house inn. The old woman was smiling, touched the photo gently and placed it on her desk. The next morning, all new cadets gathered in the main assembly hall, arrived early and found a seat near the back. The hall filled quickly with beings of all shapes and sizes. The noise was incredible. Clicking sounds, humming sounds, deep rumbles that she felt in her chest more than heard. She noticed that no one sat near her. The seats on both sides remained empty. She was used to this. On the shuttle, other species had kept their distance too. Humans made them nervous for reasons did not fully understand. A door opened at the front of the hall. The noise stopped immediately. Every cadet turned to look. The creature that walked in was tall and covered in dark green scales. He walked on 2 legs like a human, but his face was long like a lizard. His eyes were yellow with black slits in the center. He wore the uniform of a senior instructor, decorated with medals from wars had only read about. This was Os. He was famous throughout the galaxy. He had fought in 3 major wars and survived battles that had killed thousands. He had trained more elite soldiers than anyone in the Academy's history. He stood at the center of the stage and looked out at the cadets. His scales shifted color slightly, moving from green to a darker shade. Had studied his species. The color change meant he was being serious. "Welcome to the Galactic Combat Academy," he said. His voice was deep and rough. A translator device around his neck turned his words into sounds each species could understand. "You are here because you are the best your worlds have to offer. You are here because you want to become warriors." He paused and let his eyes move across the room. "Many of you will fail. Many of you will quit. Some of you will be injured so badly that you will never fight again. This is the truth. I do not believe in lying to cadets." Sat very still and listened. "Before we begin your training," Os continued, "there is one rule I must explain, one warning I must give." He pointed toward the back of the hall. His clawed finger was aimed directly at. "Do not challenge the Earthborn," he said. "Not in sparring, not in simulation, not even as a joke. Do you understand?" Murmurs filled the hall. Hundreds of alien eyes turned to look at. She felt their stares but did not react. She kept her face calm and her hands folded in her lap. A clicking sound came from somewhere to her left, turned her head slightly. A tall creature was making the noise. She had 4 arms, large compound eyes, and wings folded against her back. Her exoskeleton was a deep red color, almost like dried blood. She belonged to a species called They had conquered 12 star systems through war. They were considered one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. With respect, Instructor said, her mandibles clicking with each word. Why should we fear her? She is small. She looks weak. My species has killed millions in battle. What can one human do? As's scales turned a deep red color. Knew this meant anger or strong emotion. I will tell you what one human can do, he said slowly. During the Axis conflict, I led 40 of my best warriors against a single human soldier. She was defending a corridor in a damaged ship. She was alone. She had limited ammunition. We thought we would break through in minutes. The hall was completely silent now. It took us 6 hours, As said. 6 hours to advance 30 meters. When we finally reached her position, she was still fighting. Her arm was broken. 3 of her fingers were missing. She had lost so much blood that she should have been dead. He paused. But she was smiling, and she was still fighting. Made a dismissive clicking sound, but she did not speak again. As looked at, something passed between them, understanding perhaps, or maybe warning. Humans are not strong, he said to the room. They are not fast. They do not have claws or armor or venom, but they have something else, something that makes them dangerous beyond measure. He turned and walked toward the exit. They do not know when to stop. The assembly ended. Cadets began to leave, remained in her seat for a moment longer. She looked down at her small hands. They did not look dangerous. They looked ordinary. But she knew what they could do. She had always known. 3 weeks passed at the academy, woke every morning at the same time. She exercised in her small room. She ate her meals alone in a corner of the dining hall. She attended every class and completed every assignment. She did not make friends. She did not seek attention. She simply worked. The other cadets watched her constantly. They whispered about her when they thought she could not hear. Some were curious. Some were afraid. Some, were angry. The warrior had not forgotten the first day. She had not forgotten how Instructor As had pointed at the small human girl and told everyone to fear her. It made no sense to. Her species did not understand fear. They had removed it from their blood long ago through careful breeding. Fear was weakness. Fear was for prey. Every day watched in training. The human performed well in classroom work. She understood tactics and strategy. Her scores on written tests were among the highest in the class, but in physical training she was nothing special. She ran slower than most species. She could not lift as much weight. She tired faster. Saw no reason to be afraid of such a creature. One night gathered with other cadets from powerful species. There was a massive stone-skinned warrior from a heavy gravity world. There was a serpentine creature with venomous fangs. There was a being made of living crystal who could survive in the vacuum of space. They sat in a corner of the recreation area and talked about the human. The instructor is old, said, clicking her mandibles in frustration. He has become soft. He sees danger where there is none. Perhaps, rumbled. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. But he has fought many wars. He has seen many things. He has seen nothing, insisted. I have studied the humans. They come from a small planet with weak gravity. They cannot breathe underwater. They cannot survive in extreme cold or heat. Their skin is soft. Their bones break easily. What is there to fear? Hissed softly. I have heard stories. They say humans can continue fighting after injuries that would kill other species. They say humans feel pain but ignore it. Stories, dismissed. Just stories told to make a weak species seem strong. His crystal body chimed as he spoke. The galaxy has many stories about humans. They have only been in space for a short time, but already their reputation spreads. Perhaps there is truth in the tales. Stood up, her wings buzzed with agitation. I am tired of stories. I am tired of warnings. Tomorrow is open sparring selection. I will challenge the human myself. I will show everyone that she is nothing to fear." The others looked at each other but said nothing. They did not try to stop her. The next day, cadets gathered on Training Floor 7. This was the largest combat area in the academy. The floor was made of a special material that could absorb impacts. Medical stations lined the walls. Emergency teams stood ready. Instructor As walked to the center of the floor. His scales were calm green today. "Today you will select sparring partners," he announced. "This is your chance to test yourselves against cadets from other species. You will learn from each other. You will grow stronger." Stood near the back of the group. She wore simple training clothes. Her hair was tied back as always. Her face showed no expression. "When I call your name, step forward and choose your opponent," As continued. "Remember, serious injury is expected at this level, but killing is forbidden. Medical teams will intervene if necessary." He began calling names. Cadets stepped forward and made their choices. Most picked opponents of similar size and ability. They were smart. They wanted to learn, not to prove something. Then As called's name. They stepped forward. She was tall and proud. Her red exoskeleton gleamed under the bright lights. Her forearms were crossed over her chest. "Choose your opponent," As said. Turned and looked directly at. A clicking sound came from her throat. It was laughter. "I challenge the Earthborn," she announced loudly. The training floor went silent. Every cadet turned to look. Even the medical team stopped what they were doing. As's scales changed color rapidly. Green to yellow to orange to red. He was struggling to control his emotions. "Cadet," he said slowly, "I must formally advise against this choice. There are many other opponents who would give you a better learning experience." "I do not want a learning experience," replied. "I want to show this academy that humans are not special. I want to end these foolish warnings." As turned to look at Cadet Park. "You do not have to accept. You may refuse any challenge without penalty." Stepped forward from the crowd. She walked slowly until she stood before. There was nearly twice her height. Her claws could cut through metal. Her exoskeleton could stop bullets. Looked up at her. "I accept," she said simply. His mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "Good. I was worried the mighty human would be too afraid." "I am not afraid," said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I have never been afraid. That is not how my people work." As sighed deeply. His scales settled into a dark gray color that had never seen before. It looked like sadness. "Clear the floor," he ordered. All cadets move to the observation areas. Medical teams prepare for immediate intervention. The other cadets hurried to the edges of the training floor. They pressed against the barriers, eager to watch. This was what they had been waiting for, a chance to see if the stories about humans were true. And stood together near the front. "She will be killed," hissed, "does not know how to hold back." "Perhaps that is what the human wants," chimed. "Perhaps she knows something we do not." Said nothing, he just watched with his stone eyes. On the training floor and stood facing each other, began to stretch her muscles slowly. She rolled her shoulders, she bent her knees, she shook out her arms. Watched with amusement. "What are you doing?" "Preparing," answered. "Preparing for what?" "Your funeral." Stopped stretching. She looked up at with those dark, calm eyes. "My grandmother taught me something when I was young. She said that every fight is won or lost before the first strike. The winner is decided by who understands their enemy better." "And you think you understand me?" laughed. "Yes," said. "I understand you completely, your species, your history, your biology, your weaknesses." For the first time felt something strange, a small flutter in her chest, a tiny hesitation in her thoughts. She did not know what it was. Her species had no word for it. But deep in her ancient blood, something remembered. As raised his arm, "Fighters ready." spread her forearms wide. Her claws extended to their full length. Her wings buzzed with energy. Simply stood. Her arms hung loose at her sides. Her feet were planted firmly on the ground. "Begin," Os said. And everything changed. Moved first. She was fast. Her species had evolved to hunt prey across open plains. They could run faster than most vehicles. They could strike before their enemies even saw them move. She rushed with all four arms spread wide. Her claws cut through the air. Her mandibles opened to show rows of sharp teeth. She aimed to grab the human and crush her in seconds. Did not run. She did not jump back. She did not try to block. She stepped forward. Had expected many things. She had expected fear. She had expected retreat. She had expected the human to defend herself in some pathetic way. She had not expected the small creature to move toward her. The surprise cost her half a second. In that half second, everything went wrong. Dropped low, she moved under the upper arms like water flowing around a stone. Her hand shot out and grabbed lower left arm just below the joint. Then she twisted. The sound was loud in the silent training hall, a crack like breaking wood. Exoskeleton was strong, but there were weak points where the segments connected, knew exactly where those points were. Screamed. It was a high-pitched sound that hurt every ear in the room. She stumbled backward, her lower left arm hanging at a wrong angle. Pain exploded through her body. She had never felt pain like this before. "How did you know?" she gasped. Was already moving again. She circled to injured side, staying low and quick. "Your species conquered 12 systems," said. Her breathing was calm. Her voice was steady. "Earth studied every battle. We recorded every fight. We analyzed every weakness." She struck again. This time her elbow hit a spot just below's mandibles. There was a nerve cluster there, hidden beneath the thickest part of the exoskeleton. Most species did not know about it. They had kept it secret for generations. Legs gave out. She fell to her knees. The world spun around her. "We found your nerve point in a recording from the 7th Moon campaign," continued. "A commander fell in exactly the same way you did just now. We watched that recording 10,000 times. We memorized the exact location." In the observation area, the cadets were completely silent. Stone face showed something that looked like shock. Scales had gone pale. His crystal body had stopped making any sound. Os watched with his arms crossed. His scales were gray. He had seen this before. He had hoped he would never see it again. Pushed herself back to her feet. Her anger burned away the pain. She had conquered worlds. She would not lose to this small, soft creature. "Lucky strikes," she hissed. "Let me show you real power." She attacked again. This time she was more careful. She used her 3 good arms in a pattern that her species had perfected over centuries. High strike, low strike, middle strike, repeat, faster and faster until the enemy could not keep up. Could not dodge them all. A claw caught her left arm. She felt the bone break. The pain was sharp and hot. Another strike cut across her forehead. Blood poured down into her eye. But she did not stop. She did not slow down. Instead, she smiled. Froze for just a moment. The smile was wrong. It was not the smile of someone who was winning. It was not the smile of someone who was happy. It was something else, something old, something that made his chest flutter again with that strange, unknown feeling. "Your species removed fear from your blood," said. Blood dripped from her face. Her left arm hung uselessly at her side. "You thought it made you stronger, but you do not understand what you lost." She moved again, even with one arm, even with blood in her eye. She was still fast, she was still precise. "Fear teaches us our limits," continued. Her good hand struck injured arm again. The screamed and stumbled. "Fear tells us when we should stop, when we should run, when we should quit." Another strike, this time to the back of his leg, another weak point, the leg buckled. "Humans kept our fear, we felt it, we studied it, we understood it. grabbed Santana and pulled her head down. They were face to face now, eye to eye, and then we learned to ignore it. Tried to fight back. Her remaining good arm swung wildly, but she was hurt. She was confused. Nothing was going the way it should. A claw caught in the ribs. Something cracked. Breathing became harder, but did not stop. She never stopped. "Do you know what happens when a creature with no limits meets a creature with no fear?" asked. Her voice was getting weaker. Her body was failing, but her eyes were still bright, still focused, still burning. Could not answer, she could barely think. "The creature with no fear pushes forward forever," said. "But the creature with no limits knows exactly how far to go." She released the antenna and stepped back. For a moment they stood facing each other. Two warriors, two species, two different kinds of strength. Then moved one final time. She did not go for a weak point. She did not aim for a nerve cluster. She simply wrapped her good arm around's throat and squeezed. This exoskeleton protected most of her body, but the throat had to be flexible. It had to allow movement. It was the one place that could be crushed. Felt her air disappearing. She tried to pull away, but the human held on. She tried to use her claws, but her arms could not reach. She tried to throw herself backward, but the human moved with her. "Humans are not the strongest," whispered. "We are not the fastest. We are not the hardest to kill." Vision began to go dark. "But we are the most stubborn creatures in the entire galaxy. When we decide to win, we do not stop. When we decide to hold on, we do not let go." The watching cadets could not move, could not speak, could not breathe. They were seeing something they would never forget. They were seeing why the galaxy feared the Earthborn. Opened her mandibles. The sound that came out was barely a whisper, but everyone heard it. "Yield," she said. "I yield." Released her immediately. The collapse to the floor, gasping for air. Medical teams rushed forward. But did not fall. She stood over her opponent with her broken arm and her bleeding face and her cracked ribs. She stood and she breathed and she waited. Only when the medical teams reached did finally allow herself to sway. "See to her first," she said to the approaching medics. "I can wait." Then her legs gave out and she fell. But she fell forward. Always forward. Woke up in the medical bay. The lights were bright and the air smelled clean. She could hear machines beeping softly nearby. Her body felt strange, heavy and light at the same time. She tried to move her left arm. It responded. She looked down and saw new skin where the wounds had been. The Academy medical technology was advanced. Broken bones could be healed in hours. Cuts and bruises disappeared overnight. A medic appeared next to her bed. He was a small being with gray skin and large black eyes. His species was known for their healing abilities. "You should rest more," he said. "Your body has been through significant trauma." "How long was I unconscious?" asked. 14 hours. We healed your broken arm, 3 fractured ribs, a cracked skull, and numerous cuts." The medic paused. "You also had internal bleeding that we barely stopped in time." Nodded slowly, "And the other one?" The medic's large eyes blinked. "She is in the next room. Her injuries were less severe than yours, but she has not spoken since she woke up. She just stares at the ceiling." Sat up carefully. Her muscles ached, but everything worked. "I want to see her," she said. "That is not advisable. You both need rest." "I want to see her." The medic looked at her for a long moment. Then he stepped aside. He had learned something important during his years at the Academy. When a human said they wanted to do something, it was better to help them than to try to stop them. Walked slowly to the next room. The door slid open. Inside lay on a large medical bed designed for her species. Her red exoskeleton looked dull under the lights. Her forearms were wrapped in healing bandages. Her compound eyes stared at nothing. Pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The only sounds were the beeping machines and the soft hum of the station's air system. Finally turned her head. She looked at with eyes that seemed different than before. Something had changed behind them. "I do not understand," said. Her voice was quiet, broken. "I am larger than you. I am stronger than you. I have natural weapons. You have nothing. How did you win?" Considered the question. She had been asked this many times before, on Earth when she was training, when she was tested, when she was chosen for the academy. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. "Do you know what persistence hunting is?" asked. Shook her head slightly. "Long ago, before humans had technology, we hunted animals on our world. We were not fast. We could not catch them in a sprint. We were not strong. We could not fight them with our bare hands. But we had something no other creature had." "What?" "Endurance," leaned back in her chair. "Humans can run for entire days without stopping. We sweat to cool our bodies. We breathe efficiently. We do not need to rest the way other creatures do, so we would chase our prey, not quickly, just steadily, hour after hour, day after day, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion, until it could not run anymore. Then we would walk up to it and kill it." Listened, her mandibles were still. "That is what humans are," continued. "We are not designed for single moments of power. We are designed for the long fight, the endless fight, the fight that goes on after everyone else has stopped." "But I hurt you badly," said. "I broke your bones, I made you bleed. Any sane creature would have given up." Smiled slightly. It was a tired smile, a knowing smile. "Pain is just information," she said. "It tells us that something is wrong. But humans learned long ago to separate the information from the reaction. We feel the pain, we acknowledge it, then we keep going anyway." "That is madness." "Perhaps, but it works." Was silent again. Her eyes looked at the ceiling, then back at. "During the fight," she said slowly, "you could have killed me, many times. You knew where all my weak points were. You could have crushed my throat before I had a chance to yield. Why did you stop?" This was the question had been waiting for. This was the important one. "My grandmother taught me something when I was young," she said. "She survived a great war on Earth. She saw terrible things. She did terrible things to survive. But after the war, she spent the rest of her life helping people, healing people, building things instead of destroying them. I asked her once why she changed, why she stopped being a warrior. Do you know what she said?" Shook her head. "She said that any fool can destroy. It takes no special skill to break things, to hurt things, to kill things. The real challenge," she said, "is knowing when to stop. The real strength is choosing mercy when destruction is easier." Reached out and gently touched his bandaged arm. "You are not my enemy," she said. "You are a young warrior who wanted to prove herself. I understand that, I respect that. But I did not come to this academy to make enemies. I came to learn, to grow, to become better than I was yesterday." Felt something wet on her face. She raised one arm and touched it. Her hand came away damp. She had never cried before. Her species had removed that ability along with fear. But somehow the tears came anyway. "I am sorry," whispered. "I was arrogant, I was foolish, I did not understand." "You were young," said. "We are all young. That is why we are here, to learn, to make mistakes, to become wiser." The door to the medical room slid open. Instructor Oz stood in the entrance. His scales were a soft blue color. It meant something, but did not know what. "Cadet Park," he said, "you should be resting." "I needed to speak with her." Oz looked at, then back at. Something passed across his reptilian face, something like respect. "The entire academy is talking about your fight," he said. "The recording has been watched thousands of times already. Cadets from other stations are requesting copies. Within a week, the entire sector will have seen it." Closed her eyes. She had expected this. She had not wanted it, but she had expected it. "They will not understand," she said quietly. "No," As agreed. "They will see the violence. They will see the blood. They will see a small human defeating a warrior. They will call you dangerous. They will call you terrifying. They will add your fight to the legends about your species. He stepped into the room and stood next to her chair. But I saw something different, he said. I saw a warrior who could have killed her opponent choosing not to. I saw someone who understood that the fight was won the moment it began and still gave her enemy a chance to yield. That is not the action of a monster. Opened her eyes. Then what is it? Asa's scales shifted to a color she had never seen before. It was warm, almost golden. It is the action of a true warrior, he said, and that is far more rare. He turned and walked toward the door. Rest, both of you. Training continues tomorrow, and Cadet Park. Yes, Instructor. Thank you for not killing my student. The door closed behind him and sat in silence, but this time the silence felt different. It felt like the beginning of something new. 6 months passed at the academy. The seasons changed on the station, artificial lights shifting from warm to cool to simulate the passing of time. Cadets trained. Cadets learned. Cadets grew into warriors. Park did not fight in the sparring ring again. She did not need to. The recording of her battle with had spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every military academy watched it. Every training program studied it. Every species that had ever wondered about humans now had their answer. But something unexpected had happened after the fight, something that no one had predicted. Began following everywhere. At first, the other cadets thought it was about revenge. They expected the to attack the human when her guard was down. They watched and waited for violence. It never came. Instead, sat next to in classes. She ate meals at her table. She joined her during training exercises. She asked question after question about human history, human culture, human thinking. "Why do you follow me?" asked one evening, as they sat together in the observation deck watching the stars. "Because I do not understand you," answered. "I have read every file about humans that exists. I have watched every recording. I have studied your wars and your art and your science, but I still do not understand how you think. What confuses you?" His mandibles clicked softly. Everything. Your species fights wars that kill millions, then creates art about the sadness of death. You build weapons that can destroy planets, then write laws to prevent their use. You are capable of terrible violence, but you also sacrifice yourselves to save strangers. None of it makes sense. Smiled. It does not make sense to us either sometimes. Then how do you function? Thought about the question. She looked out at the stars, at the endless darkness spotted with points of light. Somewhere out there was Earth, her home, her grandmother's grave. "We hold contradictions inside us," she said finally. "We are capable of great good and great evil, often at the same time. Every human carries this battle within themselves. We do not resolve it. We simply manage it." That sounds exhausting. It is. That is why we do not live very long compared to other species. We burn through ourselves trying to be better than we were born to be. Was silent for a long moment. Her compound eyes reflected the starlight. "During our fight," she said quietly, "I felt something I had never felt before. My species removed fear from our genetics long ago. We are not supposed to be able to feel it. But when you smiled at me with blood on your face and broken bones in your body, something ancient woke up inside me." Fear. I think so. It felt like a warning, like something inside me screaming that I was facing a predator, that I should run, that I should flee and never look back. Nodded slowly. Your ancestors knew fear before it was removed. The memory is still there, buried deep in your cells. Sometimes it rises to the surface when the danger is great enough. Is that what you wanted, to make me feel fear? No, turned to look at her. I wanted to show you something more important than fear. I wanted to show you what you were missing. What do you mean? Reached out and took his clawed hand in her own. The chitin was hard and cold. Skin was soft and warm, two completely different creatures, two completely different worlds. Fear is not weakness, said. Fear is wisdom. Fear tells us that some things are worth protecting, some things are worth running from, some things are worth fighting for even when we might lose. Without fear, how do you know what matters? Looked down at their joined hands. Something stirred in her chest, that same flutter she had felt during the fight. But this time it did not feel like a warning. It felt like something opening, something waking up. I have never had a friend before, she said. My species does not really understand friendship. We have allies, we have subordinates, we have commanders, but friends, that is a human concept. It does not have to be. Looked up at. For the first time since she had hatched from her egg, she felt something that her species had forgotten long ago. She felt connection. Graduation day arrived with ceremony and celebration. Thousands of cadets from across the galaxy gathered in the Great Hall. They wore their dress uniforms. They carried the flags of their worlds. They stood tall and proud, ready to begin their lives as warriors. Instructor stood at the podium. His scales were bright gold, the color of joy and pride. You came here as children, he announced. You leave here as soldiers. You came here as strangers. You leave here as brothers and sisters in arms. Whatever wars await you, whatever battles you will fight, remember what you learned here. Remember who stood beside you. He paused and looked out at the assembled cadets. This year, we have had something special. We have had a reminder of why we must never stop learning, never stop growing, never stop trying to understand those who are different from us. He looked directly at who stood in the front row. Cadet Park graduates today at the top of her class. Her tactical scores are the highest in Academy history. Her combat abilities have been witnessed by the entire galaxy, but that is not why I remember her. The hall was silent, every eye was on. I remember her because she taught us something important. She taught us that true strength is not about destruction, it is about choice. The choice to fight or not fight, the choice to kill or show mercy, the choice to hate or to understand. He raised his hand in salute. Cadet Park, you honor us all. Returned the salute. Beside her clicked her mandibles softly. It was the sound for respect. After the ceremony, cadets scattered across the station to say their goodbyes. Some would never see each other again. Some would meet on battlefields on opposite sides. That was the nature of war. Stood at the window of the observation deck, watching the stars one last time. Tomorrow she would board a ship back to Earth. She would see her grandmother's grave. She would visit her home inn. She would remember who she was before she became a legend. Footsteps approached behind her. She did not need to turn to know who it was. Where will you go? Asked. Came to stand beside her. My commanders have requested my return. They want to study me. They want to know why I now feel things that are not supposed to feel. Will you go? No, mandibles clicked with something that sounded almost like laughter. I have decided to request a transfer to Earth. Turned to look at her, surprised. Your people accepted an observer program last year, explained. One representative from each species is allowed to live on Earth and learn about human culture. I have applied for the position. Why? Looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that darkness was Earth, a small blue planet that had produced the most confusing species in the galaxy. Because you showed me that I did not understand anything, she said. You showed me that my species, for all our strength, had lost something important. I want to find it again. I want to learn what you know. I want to become something more than what I was born to be. Smiled. It was a warm smile, a genuine smile, the kind of smile that came from deep inside, where the battles never ended and hope never died. Then I will see you on Earth, she said. Yes, you will. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Two warriors, two friends, two small points of light against the endless dark. The galaxy would tell stories about them for generations. The human who refused to fall, the who learned to feel, the warning that became a legend. Do not challenge the Earthborn. But those who truly understood knew the deeper truth. The warning was not about human violence. It was not about human endurance. It was not about human stubbornness. It was about human hope. Because no matter how dark things became, no matter how badly they were hurt, no matter how many times they were knocked down, humans always got back up. They always kept going. They always believed that tomorrow could be better than today. And that impossible, irrational, beautiful belief was the most dangerous weapon in the entire universe. It could not be destroyed. It could not be broken. It could only spread. Took one last look at the stars. Somewhere out there, a million species were watching her story, learning from it, changing because of it. Good, she thought. That was the whole point.